Welcome to the Practical World Podcast, your gateway to work insights and captivating stories from Thailand and beyond. This is the real world. This is the Practical World Podcast.
All right, so get this. We're diving deep into the life of someone Bill Gates even thinks is worth studying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going way beyond just the tennis court to try and understand, what made Roger Federer a global icon and what made him, what we can learn from his journey. Our guide for this is Federer by Doris Henkel. It's a biography just overflowing with insights and over 500 photos.
I was going to say the photos in this book are unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
So many I'd never seen before.
Right. And many that have never even been published before.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's really remarkable how much this book goes beyond just recounting all of Federer's, wins. It's packed with personal handwritten notes from Federer himself, which give us such an interesting look into his mindset throughout his career.
So we're starting this deep dive in Basel, Switzerland, where young Federer goes from, ball boy to, legend. It makes you think about, what sparks ignited your passions early on.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this deep dive. It's not just about Federer's path. It's about reflecting on your own. The book really emphasizes how dedication from such a young age can truly shape a life.
But we can't ignore the stats, right? I mean, 20 Grand Slams, 310 weeks ranked number one. 237 of those were consecutive.
Unbelievable.
It's mind-blowing. Over 103 ATP titles, Olympic medals.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But as impressive as those stats are, Henkel really emphasizes that Federer's story is about so much more than just trophies. It's about the Federer mindset.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, a set of 5 principles that fueled his success both on and off the court. And what I think is so exciting is that these principles are relevant to anyone, striving to be their best regardless of their field.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What exactly are these Federer mindset principles? And how did they play out in his life?
Well, think of it as resilience, precision, grace, adaptability, and humility. They're not just buzzwords, these are actionable tools. And the book dives deep into how Federer embodied each of these, not just in matches, but really throughout his entire career.
Yeah. I've always wondered about Federer's composure, especially during, all those nail-biting matches. How did he cultivate that grace under pressure? And did it go beyond the court?
That's a great question, and the book offers some really fantastic insights into that. Federer's grace, it wasn't just about, looking elegant out there. It stemmed from a really deep respect for the game and for his opponents. For example, there's this anecdote about a really heated match where he disagreed with a line call. Now, most players might have argued, gotten really upset, but Federer really calmly accepted the call and went on to win the point.
Wow, so it's not about suppressing emotions. It's more about channeling them productively.
Yeah.
I can see how that applies to, say, handling a tough negotiation or even just dealing with a frustrating colleague at work.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that this composure wasn't something Federer was just born with. The book reveals that he really struggled with anger issues early on in his career. It was through conscious effort and mentorship that he learned to control his emotions and channel them into a calm focus.
So it's about actively building that grace muscle, so to speak. What about this idea of precision? I associate that with his incredible shots, of course. But how did that translate off the court?
Well, it wasn't just about hitting the perfect forehand. The book highlights Federer's really meticulous approach to everything, from analyzing his opponent's weaknesses to planning his training regimen. He was really known for his attention to detail, even down to how he packed his tennis bag.
It makes you think about how that level of intentionality could apply to any task, whether it's writing a report or learning a new language. I'm already starting to see the connections here.
Yeah, that's the power of this deep dive. It's not just about learning about Federer. It's about finding inspiration and actionable insights that you can apply to your own life.
Okay, so grace and precision, got it.
Yeah.
But professional tennis is incredibly competitive. How did Federer deal with setbacks? Was resilience something he just had naturally, or was it something he had to learn?
That's where it gets really fascinating. The book details how after a devastating loss in the 2008 Wimbledon final to Nadal, Federer didn't wallow, He analyzed the match, identified weaknesses in his game, and adjusted his training regimen. This shows us that resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about using setbacks as opportunities to improve.
That's a powerful message. I'm thinking about a project I'm working on right now. It's hit some major roadblocks, and I'm feeling a bit discouraged. But maybe instead of getting, down on myself, I need to shift my focus to identifying what's not working and finding solutions.
Exactly. And that's something we can all learn from Federer. He viewed challenges not as failures, but as opportunities for growth and learning. He never let a setback define him. He used it as fuel to come back stronger.
So we've got grace under pressure, a meticulous approach, and the ability to turn setbacks into learning opportunities. What about adapting to change? I imagine the tennis world evolved quite a bit throughout Federer's career.
Absolutely. The game changed dramatically during his time on the court. New technologies, new playing styles, younger, more aggressive players. It's remarkable how Federer didn't just maintain his ranking, he stayed at the top for years.
So how did he do it? Was it just raw talent?
Talent played a part, of course. But the book reveals that Federer was a master of adaptation. He wasn't afraid to evolve his game, to incorporate new techniques, even to change his racket and his training methods. He understood that clinging to, old methods wouldn't guarantee success in a changing landscape.
I can see how that applies to so many fields. Technology is evolving at a dizzying pace, and those who can't adapt get left behind. This idea of embracing change as an opportunity rather than a threat is powerful. I'm curious, though, did all this success go to his head? Where does humility fit into this Federer mindset?
That's what's so compelling about this book. It shows that despite reaching the pinnacle of his sport, Federer remained remarkably grounded. He was known for his sportsmanship, his respect for opponents, and his genuine humility.
And was that something he actively cultivated?
Absolutely. Henkel emphasizes that Federer made a conscious effort to stay grounded, even amidst all the fame and adulation. One anecdote that really stood out to me was how after winning Wimbledon for the first time, Federer didn't throw a lavish party or anything. He went back to his hotel room and celebrated with pizza and video games.
That's funny. You'd expect a much different reaction after such a monumental victory. It really highlights that despite all the extraordinary achievements, he remained relatable. That down-to-earth quality is probably what made him so universally loved.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about staying humble. He actively tried to use his platform for good. The book details his extensive philanthropic work, particularly his foundation's efforts to improve education for children in Africa.
So this Federer mindset extends beyond personal success. It's about using your influence to make a positive impact on the world. It's inspiring to see that level of social responsibility. I'm starting to understand why even Bill Gates recommends this book.
It's about so much more than just tennis. It's a blueprint for a life well lived, for achieving success while remaining grounded and using your platform for good. And what's remarkable is how Henkel brings all of this to life through the book's unique format.
You're referring to the hundreds of photos, right? It's
Right.
not your typical biography.
Exactly. It's almost like a visual journey through Federer's life, from his childhood in Switzerland to those iconic moments on the court. And what I found particularly fascinating were the handwritten notes from Federer sprinkled throughout the book.
Those really stood out to me as well. It's one thing to read about Federer's thoughts, but to see them in his own handwriting adds a whole other dimension.
Yeah, it's like getting a glimpse into his inner world. His reflections on wins and losses, his personal goals, even his doodles. It humanizes him in a way that statistics and match summaries never could.
I remember one note where he talked about feeling immense pressure before a big match and how he used visualization techniques to calm his nerves. It's a reminder that even the greatest athletes experience doubt and anxiety.
And that they have to develop coping mechanisms to deal with those pressures. That's something we can all relate to, whether we're facing a big presentation at work or dealing with a personal challenge. It's comforting to know that even Roger Federer had to work on his mental game.
It reinforces the idea that these Federer mindset principles aren't just for elite athletes, they're applicable to all of us. So we've talked about grace, precision, resilience, and humility. What about adaptability? How did Federer navigate the changing landscape of professional tennis over his long career?
That's one of the most compelling aspects of his story. The book details how the game evolved dramatically during Federer's reign. New technologies emerged, playing styles became more aggressive, and a new generation of players rose to challenge his dominance.
It must have been tempting to stick with what had worked for him in the past. How did he adapt to those changes and stay at the top for so long?
It's a testament to his willingness to evolve. He wasn't afraid to experiment with new techniques, change his racket, even adjust his training regimen to stay ahead of the curve. There's a fascinating section in the book that describes how he incorporated elements of his rivals' playing styles into his own game, essentially turning their strengths into his own.
It's like he was constantly learning, constantly seeking ways to improve. That's a mindset we could all benefit from, especially in today's rapidly changing world.
Exactly. He understood that complacency is the enemy of progress. And this applies not just to professional life, but to personal growth as well. Being open to new experiences, challenging our own assumptions, stepping outside our comfort zones, that's where real growth happens.
It's about embracing a growth mindset, a willingness to be a lifelong learner. So we've explored the 5 principles of the Federer mindset: grace, precision, resilience, adaptability, and humility. But how do these translate from the tennis court to everyday life? What are the key takeaways for us, the listeners?
That's where it gets really exciting. The book isn't just a biography, it's a guidebook. It offers practical examples of how Federer embodied these principles, and it challenges us to think about how we can apply them in our own lives.
So it's not just about admiring Federer's achievements from afar, it's about learning from his journey and applying those lessons to our own unique paths. What are some specific takeaways you found particularly relevant?
One that really resonated with me was the idea of discipline and consistency. Federer's legendary work ethic wasn't about sporadic bursts of energy. It was about showing up day after day, rain or shine, and putting in the hours.
I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, especially in today's world of instant gratification. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of quick fixes and overnight success stories.
Exactly. And the book serves as a powerful reminder that true mastery, whether in sports or any other field, is built on consistent effort over time. It's about embracing the process, the daily grind, the small steps that ultimately lead to big results.
That resonates with me. I'm often guilty of getting excited about a new project or goal, but then my enthusiasm fizzles out when I encounter the inevitable challenges. How can we cultivate that Federer level discipline and consistency?
The book provides some great insights into Federer's approach. He was meticulous about planning his training schedule, setting clear goals, and tracking his progress. He surrounded himself with a supportive team who held him accountable and helped him stay focused.
So it's not just about willpower, it's about creating systems and structures that support our goals. That's a really practical takeaway. It's about breaking down big goals into smaller, manageable steps and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that discipline isn't just about pushing yourself physically, it's about training your mind as well. Federer was known for his incredible focus and ability to stay calm under pressure.
That mental fortitude is something I really admire. I tend to get flustered easily, especially when things get hectic. How did Federer cultivate that mental toughness?
The book highlights how he used visualization techniques to prepare for matches, mentally rehearsing different scenarios and developing strategies to deal with potential setbacks. He also practiced mindfulness and meditation to stay grounded and focused amidst the chaos of competition.
So it's not just about physical training, it's about training our minds to be resilient, focused, and adaptable. These are skills that are valuable in any area of life, whether we're athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, or parents.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this deep dive so compelling. We're not just learning about a tennis legend. We're exploring a set of principles that can empower us to live more fulfilling, successful, and meaningful lives.
And it all starts with taking that first step, with making the conscious decision to incorporate these Federer mindset principles into our own journeys.
It's about recognizing that while we may not all be destined to become tennis champions, we can all strive to embody those qualities of grace, precision, resilience, adaptability, and humility in our own unique ways.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from Federer's early days to his incredible achievements, and the Federer mindset that fueled his success. But there's one more key takeaway. I'd love to explore the idea of balance.
Ah, yes. That's a topic that resonates deeply in today's world, where so many of us struggle to juggle multiple roles and responsibilities. How did Federer manage to maintain a successful career while also prioritizing his family and personal life?
That's a great question. I've always admired how he seemed to navigate that delicate balance with such grace and ease.
The book reveals that it wasn't always easy for him. There were times when the demands of his career took a toll on his personal life, but he made a conscious effort to prioritize family time, to be present with his loved ones, even amidst the pressures of international travel and competition.
That's so important. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of success and neglect other areas of our lives. What are some practical strategies Federer used to maintain that balance?
He set clear boundaries, scheduling dedicated family time and sticking to it as much as possible. He also involved his family in his travels whenever feasible, turning tournaments into family vacations. And he made sure to unplug from the pressures of tennis when he was at home, focusing on being a husband and father.
That's inspiring. It's a reminder that success in one area of life shouldn't come at the expense of others. It's about finding that equilibrium, that harmony between work, family, personal passions, and everything else that makes life fulfilling.
Exactly. And the book highlights that this balance isn't about achieving perfect symmetry. It's about finding what works for you, setting priorities, and making conscious choices that align with your values.
So we talked about balance, and I think that's what really resonates with me. It's so easy to get caught up in, the day-to-day and forget about the bigger picture.
Right. And I think this book really drives home that point. Federer didn't just achieve success on the court, he cultivated a fulfilling life both personally and professionally.
Thinking back to the Federer mindset, I'm struck by how much emphasis is placed on personal growth and learning.
Oh, absolutely. The book highlights how Federer never stopped seeking ways to improve, even when he was at the top of his game.
It's that whole idea of adaptability, right?
Exactly. He was always willing to embrace change, to learn from his mistakes, to step outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about improving his tennis skills either.
Right. He used that same approach in all aspects of his life, from his philanthropic work to his role as a husband and father.
I think that's a really powerful message for all of us. It's about recognizing that learning is a lifelong journey and that we should always be open to new experiences and new perspectives.
And I think what makes Federer's story so inspiring is that he never lost sight of his values. Despite all the fame and success, he remained grounded and humble.
Exactly. He understood that true success isn't just about achieving external goals. It's about living a life that's aligned with your values and your passions.
And I think that's something we can all aspire to.
Well, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. I've learned so much about Roger Federer, not just as a tennis player, but as a human being.
Me too. It's been a privilege to explore this book with you.
And I hope our listeners have been inspired to learn more about Federer and his incredible journey, and maybe even to incorporate some of those Federer mindset principles into their own lives.
I think we all have something to learn from his story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to be the best versions of yourselves.
Thank you for joining. This is the Practical World Podcast.